Hello there and welcome to 3Spoonies. We're your hosts, Karen, Jo and Claire. This is episode 32.5 and we're discussing accessible communication. Let's get into some questions.
Are you drowning in admin? Struggling to keep up with emails, invoices, social media, or the endless to-do list that comes with running a business? Then it's time to call in Vicky Admin Fairy, an award-winning virtual assistant who brings order to admin chaos. Vicky works with all entrepreneurs, regardless of their background or abilities, to take care of the time-consuming tasks that slow you down. Whether it's managing emails, sorting financial admin, handling social media, chasing late payments, the list is endless. She saves business owners hours every week, reducing stress and ensuring everything runs smoothly. With 25 years of experience, a flexible, client-focused approach, and a reputation for going above and beyond, Vicky adapts to your needs, making your business more efficient so you can focus on what you do best. And the best part? You'll have more free time to grow your business, boost profits, or just enjoy life without admin headaches. Want to free up your time and get your business running more smoothly? Visit www.vickyadminfairy.co.uk or email hello@vickyadminfairy.co.uk to find out how Vicky can help you.
Hello, I'm Karen from Pony Pony Pony.
And I'm Jo from Bright Cat Business Solutions.
And I'm Claire from Sparkle's Gift Boutique.
Together we are 3Spoonies navigating our way through life and business with not enough spoons. We are joined again by the lovely Lisa Riemers.
Hello.
And she's going to be answering our community questions on how to make communication more accessible. Lisa, would you like to tell us a little bit about you and what you do and why you're fabulous?
Oh, okay. So I am a communications and content consultant. I work with organisations to help them tell their stories and communicate their information to their employees and their customers. I've worn a couple of different hats over the years, from pure communications and marketing to user-centred content design. And I think I've brought useful stuff from each to the other role.
Yeah, it's useful to have those different perspectives. I think sort of looking at things from different angles can give you a great deal of insight. Very much all for it. So, Jo, do you have some lovely questions for us to answer? Well, for Lisa to answer.
Yeah, I've got some for Lisa to answer. I can think of some for you to answer if you want later. But yes, our first question is from Abby. She says, I'm a graphic designer and I've put loads of effort into my website. Is there a way to let people choose settings for font size, etc., without it looking terrible?
Good question. So generally, people have, if they want to change font size, it's something that's available in the browser or it's available in their assistive technology. So making sure that your layout and the content on your website is structured in a logical order, and that if you were to change the size of text, that it doesn't knock your images out of alignment. Sometimes, it does sound boring, but having an expected format where your text is on the left and any images are on the right or images are above means that if someone does need to change the size, it won't mess things up. Using a responsive design that works whether they're on a mobile or a desktop is probably the starting point. And I think good practice now is to not need to provide any resizing options yourself, because that's something that someone can do their end.
Yeah, I know there's also plugins you can get that gives you a bunch of funky features, but it doesn't always play nice with stuff behind it.
Exactly. This is a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but what I do know is that accessibility overlays don't tend to work. There's a really prominent vendor who recently got fined a phenomenal amount of money, accessibly, for claiming that their product made websites automatically accessible if you used it.
I've
And
heard of that
actually,
one.
it made things worse in a lot of cases. And it was in a US court decided that their marketing was, what's the word? Untrue.
Wrong.
Essentially, yeah, it was. They were
It's just
lying.
wrong.
Essentially, they were inflating claims, saying that by adding this overlay and it will make things magically work, and it's adding in another layer between your information and the end user. And most of the time, the answer is to just structure things in a logical order in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I've got one currently on my website, and it's fine on the actual pages. As soon as you go into the back end of things like courses, it then comes up weird and it messes everything up, so it does need removing. But yeah, I'm with you. Just structure your website so things.
Yeah, sometimes your plugin baby can crucify your enemies, and
It
that's
can,
not
yes. But we were taught that at a very young age.
Millennial humor. Woo!
Right. Thank you very much for that answer. That's a very good answer. Our next question is from Ryan. I work in an industry with lots of jargon. Is there a better way to explain terms in the text? In brackets, in some sort of glossary, or with scroll over detail?
So I would say with jargon, in some cases it's needed, and it's the point of using plain language is using the words that your audience understands the first time they read it. So if your audience is in that industry, the chances are they'll know a lot of the jargon, but some of your audience might be new to the industry. It might be something where they've switched careers. So if you have to use jargon, spelling it out the first time on a page or the first time in context to explain it means that it's, anybody that's reading it, regardless of what stage they are in their career, will understand what that word means. There's an example so I started rowing a couple of years ago, and there's certain boat-based terminology that I couldn't get my head around, and I couldn't work out why I couldn't get my head around it. But the idea of port and starboard.
Yeah.
So port is the left and starboard's the right. But it depends which way you're facing on the boat. And when you row in the kind of boats that I've been rowing in, you're facing the back of the boat. So I'm always sitting backwards. So my left is the cox's right. And there's something about the perspective being important, which is what, if you say the left of the boat, it's like, well, who's left? So it's always the port and starboard is always relative to the shape of the boat, not the position of the boat in the water.
So everybody knows which is which, and it's all
exactly.
That makes sense.
And I couldn't get my head around why I kept forgetting it every time. And it's because I'm always facing the back of the boat. And it took me such a long time to realise I was just facing the other way. And that's why my left was never what I was expecting starboard to be. Port to be. When I'm not in the boat. So I think, sometimes you need that jargon, you need those specific terms. And I think the other thing is there might be words that your organisation chooses to use, but that's not what your audience uses. So you present them both. If a policy has changed name, put in the old name next to it. So if someone's searching for it, they still find the information is also a way to deal with that. I think glossaries can be helpful, but if someone has to go and look up something out of context, it disrupts their reading flow. I'm all for having a reference point where someone can go to learn all of these things. But if you spell the term out the first time it's used on that page in a succinct manner and in a way that people can read it rather than being behind a mouse over or a pop-up that might not be that accessible for people, it makes it easier to read for everyone.
Awesome. That's great. Right. My final question is from Ashley. I've seen sites with a crystal mark for clear language, but they're not clear enough for me, if I'm honest. Are there official guidelines for clear language, and who decides?
That is a really good question. I'm not sure what that crystal mark means, actually. That's new to me. But there is an official way of dealing with this, which is something that I only found out about relatively recently. There is actually an international ISO standard for plain English, which has very similar. and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but the construct of it is similar to the WCAG guidelines for accessible websites. It's similar to perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. I can't remember the actual phrasing of it, but essentially you can meet that standard. I don't know how you'd go about getting a website certified to that standard, and also obviously websites and content is dynamic, it's changing all the time. So if you're writing something using built-in checkers like in Word or using Hemingway, you can aim towards a readability grade that works for your audience. And that's how I tend to check my own work. But I think testing with your users is important because, again, people have different reading ages and reading abilities, and reading age being the number of words that someone is familiar with, how big their vocabulary is. And, you know, different people have different abilities in this area. But using an editor or a checker can help make your writing better.
Ashley, I hope that's answered your question. That's all the questions I've got. I'm going to pass back over to Karen.
So thank you, Lisa, for joining us. It's been rather wonderful. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
I would love to plug the book that I am co-writing with Matisse Hamon-Elise about accessible communications. It is available for pre-order now and is due to be published towards the end of 2025. I've also got a list of accessibility resources on my website. As I've mentioned, as I've said to you all before, I'm not an accessibility expert, but I'm an enthusiastic learner in this, and I'm always learning myself. So I need to look up that crystal mark because that's not something I'm familiar with. But thank you for that. But yeah, please do come and have a look at my resources, pre-order the book, and stay in touch.
And everybody gets homework.
I've looked at the list. It's really good, actually. I shared it with people who've asked for resources and things. I'm like, here's some resources, here's loads of stuff. So
Not gonna lie,
yeah,
I took notes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think it's something you'd sort of dive into the bits that
My
pique
poor
your
pants.
interest.
Amazing.
That's what we like.
Now I've got to try and read it again afterwards, but you know.
I think we've all definitely learned stuff today, and that's always a good position to be in. Thanks for joining us for 3Spoonies on accessible communication. We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments and any questions you have. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe for our weekly podcast and leave us a lovely review. You can find us on social media, except Twitter because boo. And we'd love it if you join us in the Business Success Network for Disabled Entrepreneurs on Facebook. You can also buy us a coffee if you like what we do. All the links will be in the show notes, including Lisa's useful resources and book pre-order. That's it for season 4. We'll see you next week for season 5 and our next topic on remote work opportunities and challenges. See you then, and keep track of your spoons.